You thought it was just tuna, a quick lunch, a safe pantry staple. But what if that harmless little can is hiding mercury, shredded metal, and chemical preservatives your doctor never warned you about? In 2025 alone, 3 top-selling canned tuna brands were flagged for mercury levels exceeding the EPA's safety limit. One was quietly recalled after customers reported mouth injuries from sharp metal fragments. Another failed sodium testing, by more than double what the label promised. Yet most stores still stock them, and most shoppers still trust them. Why is no one talking about the tuna that's poisoning our seniors and low-income families behind shiny health claims? Who's keeping you in the dark about where your fish actually comes from, and what's really in it? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we're lifting the lid on the 6 canned tuna brands you've probably bought, and wish you hadn't. Number 1. Chicken of the Sea. You ever pop open a can of tuna and feel like you're cracking open a piece of the good old days? That familiar blue label, the cartoon mermaid smiling like she's got nothing to hide. It's like stepping back into a simpler time, when lunch was cheap, labels were honest, and you didn't have to Google what was in your food. Chicken of the Sea used to be that kind of brand. A pantry staple tucked behind the saltines and instant coffee, always ready to turn into tuna salad, casserole, or a quick sandwich on white bread with a little mayo and a prayer. But these days, that mermaid might as well be winking at you with a secret, and not the good kind, because what's really inside those cans in 2025? It's not just fish. Lab tests by the Foodprint Integrity Group turned up an average of 3.7 pieces of microplastic in every serving. Think about that. Nearly 4 tiny bits of plastic in every scoop. Not seasoning, not sea salt. We're talking the same plastic used in grocery bags, bottle caps, and those awful plastic rings they tell you to cut before tossing. And it didn't end up there by accident. A big chunk of Chicken of the Sea's supply chain runs through waters off Vietnam and the Philippines. Industrial zones flagged years ago for dumping plastic waste like it was a sport. That plastic sandwich alone is enough to make anyone pause. But here comes the real curveball. In April 2025, the company got hit with a federal class action lawsuit. Turns out a whole lot of that 100% wild-caught tuna wasn't so wild after all. Whistleblowers from Thai Union, the corporate giant behind the brand, revealed internal memos showing nearly 28% of their fish came from floating pens and offshore tanks. Basically sea prisons where fish circle endlessly, pumped full of feed and treated like widgets. It's like buying farm-fresh eggs and realizing they were laid in a vending machine behind a gas station. And if that didn't turn your stomach, let's talk mercury. In early 2024, the Environmental Defense Fund released tests showing certain batches of Chicken of the Sea exceeded the safe limit for mercury, up to 0.31 parts per million. That's a big red flag for older adults, pregnant folks, and anyone already juggling meds for blood pressure or cholesterol. Even worse, leaked documents from late 2023 showed the company knew about the spikes but didn't bother updating their labels or warnings. That's not an oversight. That's silence with a price tag. And the cherry on this toxic sundae? They kept marketing it as heart healthy thanks to supposed omega-3 content. But when the FDA stepped in with a formal warning in March 2025, tests showed many cans had less than 150 milligrams of omega-3 per serving, barely enough to keep a goldfish's heart ticking, let alone yours. Meanwhile, their website kept promising ocean-fresh goodness, like it was a cure-all. That's not advertising, it's a bedtime story for the gullible. And just when you thought the worst was over, Human Rights Watch dropped a report in mid-2024 exposing horrific labor conditions at processing plants tied to Chicken of the Sea. 14-hour days, passport seizures, wages that couldn't even cover a hot meal. This isn't just about what's in your can, it's about who's paying the price to put it there. Now, if your gut's telling you to ditch the mermaid, listen to it. Cleaner choices do exist. Iceland catch tuna, sources from certified Nordic waters. No floating pens, no shady labels, and tested for mercury so you don't have to guess. Henry and Lisa's Natural Seafood is another solid bet, packed in BPA-free cans and independently verified. Or go old school. Buy a piece of frozen wild salmon, throw on some lemon and dill, and make your own spread. You'll know what's in it, and your body will thank you. Because here's the kicker. If they'll hide plastic, mercury, and human misery behind a smiling cartoon, what else are they slipping in? Maybe it's time we stop trusting the mascot and start reading the fine print. Number 2. Bumblebee. It used to be the kind of food you could count on. Cheap, reliable, no fuss. Bumblebee wasn't just tuna. It was a familiar yellow label tucked into every pantry that ever tried to make a dollar stretch past Friday. Whether you were packing lunch for the grandkids, putting together a humble tuna casserole, or just getting by with crackers and a can, Bumblebee felt like a small piece of security you didn't have to think twice about. It didn't ask questions. And neither did you. Until now. Because in 2025, Bumblebee's safe and sound reputation finally hit the rocks. And what came pouring out wasn't just fish. It was something far darker. In February, a scathing report from the Equitrade Justice Initiative pulled back the curtain on the company's supply chain, revealing it was still tethered to Thai union factories notorious for forced labor. Not rumors, not secondhand stories. Verified testimonies from migrant workers, whistleblowers, and undercover researchers exposed conditions so grim they sounded like something out of a prison camp. 18-hour shifts, zero pay. Overcrowded rooms thick with the smell of rot and chemical fumes. One former worker said the air inside the plant was so foul, men would collapse before lunchtime. This isn't the background of your tuna salad. It's a nightmare that's been vacuum sealed and shipped with a smile. And Bumblebee didn't just ignore the smoke. They let the whole house burn. In June 2024, multiple watchdog groups, including Global Labor Justice and Seafood Slavery Risk Tool, added Bumblebee to their Do Not Source blacklist. Why? Because the company hadn't completed a single third-party labor audit since 2021. And worse, they quietly let their ethical certifications expire in late 2023 without telling anyone. So while shoppers at Dollar Tree and family-run grocers were reaching for cans marked dolphin-safe and ocean-friendly, they were unknowingly feeding into a system powered by broken laws and broken lives. But what's inside the can isn't much cleaner. In October 2024, the FDA flagged Bumblebee for improperly sterilized cans. Yes, the kind that can let deadly bacteria survive the canning process. The agency traced at least 3 contaminated lots of Bumblebee's solid white albacore, sealed so poorly that air and all the bacteria it carries could sneak in. The company did post a quiet recall notice online, but that's like whispering fire in a packed theater and hoping no one smells smoke. By early 2025, tainted cans were still sitting on shelves across southern and midwestern states, ready to be opened by seniors with weakened immune systems. This isn't just neglect, it's playing Russian roulette with dinner. And then came the mercury. In March 2025, the Consumer Health Check Alliance released a damning report. Bumblebee's albacore had mercury levels ranging from 0.32 to 0.41 parts per million, nearly twice what the EPA considers safe for regular consumption. And yet the labels still chirped great for kids and perfect for pregnant moms. Perfect for who? Dentists? It's like trying to sell lead paint as wall art. And let's not forget, Bumblebee has pulled this stunt before. Back in the 2010s, they were already busted for misleading consumers on mercury content. This time, they've doubled down, aiming their ads at folks who can least afford to get sick. And it's not just human lives on the line, it's marine life too. In April 2025, Ocean Justice Watch published satellite tracking, showing Bumblebee's suppliers fishing inside marine protected areas near Papua New Guinea. These zones are supposed to shield vulnerable species. Instead, they become lawless playgrounds for ghost ships, vessels that dump bycatch, destroy ecosystems, and vanish without a trace. Bumblebee's corporate response? Just a vague statement. Under review. That's like finding termites in your kitchen and deciding to sleep on it. At this point, it's hard to tell what stings more, the mercury or the betrayal, but you don't have to swallow it. Shoppers who know better are making the switch. Scout Canning, for example, offers traceable, BPA-free fish from North American waters. Tonino Tuna packs their fish in jars straight from Costa Rica's sustainable fisheries. And if you're trying to keep things affordable, head to your local Latin or Asian grocery store. You'll find clean, nutrient-rich sardines and mackerel for half the price. No cartoon bees in sight. And here's a tip for the next time you're in the canned food aisle. Flip the can over. If the code starts with TH or VN, that fish probably came from a factory in Thailand or Vietnam, places flagged repeatedly for labor and environmental abuse. Walk away. Your body and your conscience will thank you. Because if a brand can be tied to human trafficking, food safety violations, mercury fraud, and ecological destruction all in 1 year, what else is hiding under that lid? The real expiration date on Bumblebee's legacy isn't printed on the can. It's printed in headlines. and in 2025, that ink ran out. Number 3, Starkist. Some things just feel familiar, like grabbing a can of Starkist off the shelf. That smiling fish in a baseball cap, the friendly thumbs up, the promise of low fat and heart healthy, all neatly crammed into one shiny tin. It feels like a safe bet, the kind of no-nonsense protein that's helped generations stretch meals during hard times. For folks counting pennies and watching blood pressure in equal measure, Starkist has long felt like an old friend in the cupboard. But in 2025, that cheerful cartoon wink might just be covering up a can of cold, calculated deceit. In January, the nonprofit Health Evidence Archive published a sweeping report that blew the lid off Starkist's safe image. Several batches of their chunk-light tuna tested for mercury at levels as high as 0.4, 2 parts per million, well above the EPA's safety limit of 0.3 for frequent consumption. This isn't just some obscure lab statistic. This is the kind of exposure that can silently damage hearts, nerves, and memory, especially in older adults who already have enough on their medical charts. What's worse, the FDA quietly flagged this in an internal memo leaked in March, but Starkist made zero effort to warn consumers. The label still smiled back at you, claiming safe for daily consumption like nothing ever happened, but it doesn't stop there. In April, the FTC opened a formal probe into the company's health claims. Turns out Starkist had been propping up its omega-3 rich slogan with dusty old data from 2019. Fresh lab tests showed some cans had as little as 80 milligrams of omega-3 per serving, less than a third of what's considered helpful for your heart. That's like advertising a flip phone as a smart device. It technically makes calls, but it's not fooling anyone who knows better. And if your heart's not hurting yet, the ocean sure is. In mid-2024, Ocean Integrity Alliance published satellite tracking data showing Starkist suppliers were fishing in heavily overfished zones around Micronesia and Indonesia. Some of their boats had prior citations for using illegal drift nets, giant curtains of death that scoop up everything in their path, from baby tuna to endangered turtles. Starkist's response? A vague promise of traceable sourcing by 2026. That's like saying you'll fix the leak once the flood has already hit the living room. Oh, and remember that recall you never heard about? In October 2024, the FDA issued a Class 2 recall on select albacore cans due to potential histamine contamination, a nasty compound that can cause scombroid poisoning, a foodborne illness that mimics severe allergies. Nausea, headaches, plummeting blood pressure, just what the doctor didn't order. But rather than alert the public, Starkist let stores quietly pull products off shelves, hoping no one would ask too many questions. And the worst part? Some of those cans are probably still sitting in kitchen cabinets across the South and Midwest right now, unopened time bombs hiding behind soup and saltines. And just when you think the can couldn't hold more bad news, here come the factory reports. Starkist's primary processing plant in American Samoa failed multiple USDA inspections in 2024. Problems included poor sanitation, rodent droppings, and inconsistent temperature control. Basically the culinary version of Russian roulette. Yet Starkist reassured consumers with boilerplate statements about compliance, while making no meaningful improvements by early 2025. So if you're still wondering why Starkist holds a top spot in nearly every grocery store, here's the bitter truth. They've invested more in nostalgia and lobbying than in cleaning up what's actually in the can. They know that for older Americans, Charlie the Tuna isn't just a mascot, he's a memory. But memories don't make mercury go away. If it's tuna convenience you're after, consider switching to American tuna. It's caught using pole and line fishing by U.S. fishermen and certified by the American Albacore Fishing Association. Every fish is traceable, and the mercury levels? Published and peer-reviewed, or grab some sustainably caught. Frozen Pacific cod at Costco. It cooks fast, tastes mild, and skips the cartoon fish entirely. Want something meatless? Mash up soaked cannellini beans with lemon, capers, and olive oil for a creamy spread that's shockingly tuna-like and delightfully clean. And here's one final tip. Steer clear of tuna packed in vegetable oil. Studies show it holds onto more heavy metals than water-packed tuna, and if a label is trying too hard to sound healthy, it probably isn't. Because when a company spends more money on catchphrases than cleaning up its act, the only thing you're really buying is trouble in a tin. Number 4. Kroger store brand. Walk into a Kroger and the shelves practically whisper promises of savings and honesty. You see Simple Truth written in calm green letters, almost like it's reassuring you that you're making the smart, health-conscious choice without spending a fortune. For shoppers trying to stretch every dollar on a fixed retirement income, that label feels like a handshake deal. You give up the fancy branding and they give you the same quality at a lower price. But in 2025, that so-called simple truth turns out to be anything but simple, and certainly not the truth. In March 2025, the watchdog group Clear Label Exposed published findings that hit like a punch to the gut. More than 60% of Kroger's Product of USA labeled cans were actually packed in Chinese and Vietnamese facilities, using fish caught in unregulated waters of the Indian Ocean. These weren't casual claims. They were backed by isotopic analysis and shipping audits tracing every container from port to processing plant. Kroger stayed silent for weeks, and only after legal threats piled up did they quietly switch the wording on certain labels to "packed in USA." For folks who believed simple truth meant trustworthy American sourcing, this wasn't a simple mistake. It was a simple betrayal. The report didn't stop there. It also revealed that none of Kroger's tuna products with the sustainably sourced badge had proper third-party verification. According to FTC guidelines, environmental claims must have documented proof. Yet Kroger's supplier, Qingdao Fishery Kaufer, had been fined in 2023 for illegal netting and bycatch violations in Indonesian waters. Imagine paying for a planet-friendly product only to find out it's been tearing up marine life like a bulldozer in a national park. If that wasn't bad enough, lab tests in late 2024 by the Safe Fish Project found that BPA levels in Kroger's value line tuna cans were 42% higher than California's Proposition 65 daily limit. BPA is linked to cancer, hormone disruption, and memory decline, especially dangerous for older adults. While most national brands have moved to BPA-free linings, Kroger clung to outdated materials without a single mention on the label. So every time a shopper chose Simple Truth thinking they were avoiding toxic chemicals, they were unknowingly taking the bait. Meanwhile, Kroger's marketing machine rolled on. Early in 2025, they launched a shiny ad campaign claiming just the good stuff inside, full of farmers markets, sunshine, and smiling families. But behind the scenes, over 120,000 cans of their albacore white tuna were quietly recalled in February for excessive histamine levels, enough to trigger severe reactions like headaches and vomiting. The FDA flagged it as a Class 2 recall, but Kroger buried the notice deep on their website, never bothering to tell loyal customers directly. Imagine how many kitchen pantries are still holding those cans, like landmines waiting for dinner. Then came the kicker. In April 2025, a whistleblower from Kroger's own procurement division leaked internal documents showing that management had known about labeling lies as far back as August 2024. Their internal memo reportedly read, "Minimal consumer risk. Legal team will address if escalated." In other words, don't fix the problem, just see if anyone complains. For shoppers who've depended on Kroger as a budget-friendly safe zone, this isn't just disappointing, it's dangerous. But there are smarter ways to fill your pantry. Regional chains like H-E-B or Wegmans have house brand tuna that's verified for both mercury levels and BPA-free linings. Looking for a budget alternative? Goya canned mackerel packs more omega-3s than tuna and raises fewer sustainability concerns. Or keep it classic, make a simple egg salad with boiled eggs, celery, mustard, and paprika. It's protein-rich, easy to store, and comes with zero shady sourcing. Want to ditch cans entirely? Keep an eye out for sales on frozen US-sourced tilapia or flounder. Bake it with lemon and garlic, flake it into a sandwich, and you'll never miss that metallic can taste. No freezer space? Grab shelf-stable glass jars of sardines or trout from European brands. They're heavily regulated, chemical-free, and taste fresher. Because here's the ugly truth. When a label screams simple truth but hides the real story, the problem isn't just what's inside the can. It's the lie sitting on the outside, smiling at you from the shelf. Number 5, great value. For many Americans trying to squeeze nutrition out of the last $20 in their wallet, Walmart's great value tuna has felt like a tiny safety net. A few cans in the pantry could mean dinner's covered for the week, no questions asked. The label says it all. Great value, like it's giving you a pat on the back for being thrifty, for making the smart choice. But what happens when that value isn't just cheap? It's dangerous. In 2025, that familiar blue and white can might be costing shoppers far more than $1 and change. It might be costing their health. In January, the FDA issued a low-key alert. No press conference, no big headlines, about specific batches of great value chunk light tuna in water. The reason? Reports of sharp metal fragments found inside sealed cans. Not just shavings, actual slivers of steel. At least 4 people needed medical care, including a 71-year-old woman from Arkansas who ended up with a bleeding esophagus after biting into what she thought was a safe tuna sandwich. Walmart's internal checks had supposedly cleared the product, but if that's what cleared looks like, you've got to wonder who's steering the ship. And this wasn't some freak accident. A whistleblower from one of Walmart's seafood suppliers in Thailand told Corporate Ethics. Now that machinery used in tuna processing was old, poorly maintained, and missing key safety screens. Translation? Broken blades were shedding metal into the tuna like pepper into soup. Internal logs even documented foreign particles, showing up in 6 separate inspections between October 2024 and February 2025, yet production kept rolling like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, those cans kept selling. No warning at the register, no sticker on the shelf, just Walmart quietly updating their online recall page. An obscure website most seniors don't even know exists, let alone check before lunch. And while labels still proudly boast high in protein and great for quick meals, they conveniently leave out the part about possible metal chunks. For older adults dealing with dentures, sensitive gums, or health conditions that make chewing risky, this isn't just a misstep, it's a silent threat. But the metal doesn't stop there. A March 2025 study by the Clean Catch Initiative found that great value tuna averaged 0.38 parts per million in mercury, well above the EPA's recommended safety level. Despite this, the label doesn't say a word, nothing about mercury, nothing about who should be careful. For people already managing high blood pressure or kidney issues, that silence could mean the difference between a light lunch and a dangerous episode. And if that weren't enough, the cans themselves are still lined with epoxy resin containing BPA. Walmart claimed back in 2020 that they were moving towards safer packaging, but 5 years later, an audit by Retail Transparency Watch showed that more than 67% of Walmart's store brand tuna still tests positive for BPA. That's a chemical linked to everything from hormone disruption to memory loss. Yet again, no mention on the label. So what does great value really mean when your food might come with a side of sharp metal, toxic mercury, and hidden chemicals? At that point, it's not a meal, it's a gamble. $1 saved shouldn't come with a trip to the ER or a long-term health issue you never saw coming. But the good news? You don't need it, Sacrate. Big budget to eat smart. Aldi's Northern Catch Tuna now comes in BPA-free cans, is tested for mercury, and usually sells for under $1.25. Frozen edamame from the dollar freezer section packs protein and fiber without the sharp surprises. Or whip up a quick batch of egg and avocado salad. Cheap, easy, and safe for teeth, hearts, and wallets alike. And here's another idea. Mash canned chickpeas with lemon, dill, and a pinch of salt. It's tuna's peaceful cousin. Soft, plant-based, and absolutely metal-free. Some senior centers and mobile fish vendors even sell US-caught, flash-frozen fillets for less than you'd pay in hospital bills after eating contaminated tuna. Because when a company this massive hides behind quiet recalls and fine print, it stops being about saving money. It becomes a matter of who they think won't notice, or worse, who they think won't fight back. And that's not just a bad deal. That's an insult dressed as a bargain. Number 6, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has always looked like the trustworthy neighbor in the grocery world. Quirky signs, Hawaiian shirts, and a vibe that says, "We care." For older shoppers on tight budgets, their tuna in olive oil seemed like a heart-healthy upgrade. But in 2025, that little can hides more than fish. In February, Consumer Reports found the tuna had up to 690 milligrams of sodium per serving, over double the label's claim of 290. That's nearly half the daily limit recommended for seniors. For folks watching blood pressure, it's not just misleading, it's dangerous. Worse, lab tests found traces of EDTA, a chemical banned in parts of Europe and not listed on the label. The FDA issued a warning accusing Trader Joe's of misleading customers into thinking the product was free of additives. A supply chain audit revealed the tuna was processed in Tunisia, not the Mediterranean paradise many assumed, and the factory had a past citation for undisclosed additives. Even the olive oil failed testing, showing it was a low-grade mix with vegetable oil, far from the extra virgin image the label suggests. So what's left in the can? Too much sodium, hidden chemicals, low-grade oil, and a marketing story that doesn't match reality. For shoppers who trusted Trader Joe's to be better, it's a betrayal dressed in charm. Better options? Try Crown Prince Natural Yellowfin Tuna in certified extra virgin olive oil. Or go meatless. Mash white beans with lemon, garlic, and olive oil for a clean, protein-rich spread. Because sometimes the most dangerous foods don't come from gas stations. They come from stores that smile while they cut corners. If even trusted brands betray us, what else don't we know? Subscribe now, because the truth shouldn't be this hard to find.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our daily content. Now feel free to check out some of the newest and best videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.